everyone. Happy New Year. I hope your 2021 is starting on a really amazing note, right? All across the nations of the world, a lot of things have been happening. The stock market, US politics, Nigeria, and all of that. And January seems to be in a hurry as well. Okay, so this is a good time to kind of reflect on some of the goals you have written for the year and to check in with you as a reminder that this year seems to be on a fast lane. Today I am really excited to have uh this recording, doing this recording with me, a very intelligent finance enthusiast. She's a personal finance expert and she also is the head of research, right, at the Smart Investment Club. Now, you need to read Toyin's articles to understand the extent of her brilliance, right, and the amount of hard work she puts into, churning out these newsletters every day of the week. No, sorry, every Monday of the week. It's usually a very insightful read. Hi, Toyi.
Hello, Shola. How's everything? And
Yeah,
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year again.
Mm.
I'm glad we are doing this. We have read loads and loads of articles from you in the last, say, 9 months, thereabouts. And
Yeah,
I just,
from April. Yeah.
yes. And I just thought we should put a face to the name for people and then discuss some of those pertinent things that you have shared with us, right? On the newsletters or in the newsletters. And for those who are not members of a Smart Investment Club, I do not need to even tell you what you are missing, okay? I'm sure by the time we finish this conversation, you would have an idea of some of the things you are missing, especially with our newsletters that we send out on a weekly basis. Okay, so Tony, a good place to start today is, to just I would like to, you know, hear from you what the financial overview of 2021 looks like, right? What are some of the things we need to expect? You have done a lot of research last year. Some of those things that you have mentioned have come to pass. Some of the things you said to plan for in 2021 are beginning to pan out. But, for starters, generally, what do you think the financial overview of 2021 looks like? Bearing in mind that you're talking to retail investors and those who would like to take their financial goals a notch higher.
Okay. Thank you. So to do that, I would just like to look at it from various levels, as in Nigeria, and also look at it globally, because what happens globally tends to trickle down home. And what everybody has said is this year, 2021, is a year of recovery on every ground. If you look at it, whether you're looking at it in the Americas, Africa, or even Asia, developed and advanced economies, developing economies, it's about recovery. Over the weekend, China released its fourth quarter GDP results and showed that the country actually grew, or China itself grew by 6.5%, showing that that was the only economy that actually grew in 2020 or did not really suffer a contraction because of what had happened, the pandemic. And look into 2021, whilst everybody had looked at that, 2021 is a clean slate, we're all facing the fact that there's still hangover from Corona, as you were. The battle now everybody is trying to solve is how to jumpstart the economy, how to ensure that people go back. You can open up your economy safely. You can tell the restaurants to open, you can tell schools, all those that actually contribute to economic activity to open. And so that is why that you see the race to vaccinate. Unfortunately, this side of the world, we haven't seen much happen. But in advanced countries, in countries that can afford to actually buy the vaccines, the focus now is how to recover, vaccinate enough people to open up the economy. And in opening up the economy, ensuring that it is safe to do so, because nobody wants to go from a second, some countries might face a third wave of this COVID infection or pandemic, as you would call it. Dr. Fauci, rather, in the US, was saying, see, if care is not taken, there may be a third wave. The UK too is trying to manage its own. So right now, what we're saying is that, just to summarize, yes, there will be recovery, but it would be cautious. It would be a gradual one, because right now what everybody is trying to do is to vaccinate enough people to open up safely, not just to open, but to do so safely without fearing that there can be another wave. And so for people, this is still the time, I would say, as a personal investor, hold on to cash and near cash instruments. Because one thing I've learned, like you said, writing, or even some of the wealthy people I know and I've actually interacted with over the years, find out that they're they're opportunistic in nature. So whilst you may be holding back, a wealthy person, someone who is entrepreneurial in thinking, not necessarily maybe a business owner or even just a regular person, but entrepreneurial in thinking, is opportunistic at times like this, because everybody will be cautious, everybody will be holding back, but opportunities will still exist. And people that have cash will be the ones to take advantage of it. You've seen it happen in the US stocks. Everybody's wondering what will happen come 20th is Wednesday, when Joe Biden is sworn in as president. What would happen to the stock markets? But well, right now the markets are still just optimistic and still going on. So hold enough cash positions, not cash, but near cash. You can hold a bit of cash, but hold a lot of near cash, so that when you see the opportunities that come, you can quickly take advantage of them, because they would come. And some of the opportunities would come in terms of assets to buy. So you may see, so right now, I'll give an example. Looking at the fixed income market, the rates are going up. The jury is still out. Some people do not believe that we'll get to the rates that's in Nigeria, that we got to the 18%, those high double digits. We may crawl to the double digits, but not immediately, because there's a lot of pressure on government to borrow money. The debt stock is piling. Unfortunately, we still need to fund a lot of things, mainly government spending, as it were. So you would still see that, yes, there would be opportunities in the fixed income side. It may not be immediate. I'm looking at 2021 as a whole now. I'm not saying now we're still in the early days. The stock market, yes, for local investors, the stock market would still be interesting. And I foresee that as rates go higher, you will see some people leaving the stock market to go to their comfort zone, which is government securities. And that will free up opportunities for those who are looking for bargains, because many of those stock, they've actually, some rose significantly. So for someone who is looking at a long-term play, you may not want to enter when it's too high. You may just want to wait till the market calms down. I'm not sure it would go to the low, the bargain stocks will still be there, but those growth ones, those, well, quote and unquote, our blue chip stocks may not still, they may not go back to those rates, but some would be depressed and good enough to enter at that time. I hope I've said.
Right. Yes, I was just going to
No,
interrupt. I
yeah.
like the momentum with which this conversation has started. And trust me,
Mm,
you have touched on the different questions I was going to ask. So let me just break it down a bit for those who are newbies in the world of investing. First of all, I like the fact that you looked at it from a global view. what is happening in America, the vaccine issues, the second wave, and a likely third wave. Because one thing I've realized is that a lot of people, especially those who live in Nigeria, when you start to talk about COVID, they're like, no, 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 just leave that one. It really doesn't concern us. From the point of view of stay safe, you know, and then from the point
Yeah.
of view of how it affects your investment. A lot of people still believe that what happens in America, what happens around the world does not affect their investment. I tell people, see, there are three different economies you should be interested in: the global economy, the national economy, and the personal economy. A lot of people are interested in what can I do? What can I do like now, now, now that will give me a good rate? They are not bothered about what the president of Nigeria is doing. They are not bothered about what is happening in the US. So I really, really like your perspective. And what I would also like to encourage people to become aware of or interested in is to learn to follow global news, financial news, is to learn to see and relate with what is happening around the world, because ultimately it would affect your personal economy. So
Exactly.
thank you for that brilliant introduction about what America is doing, the vaccines, how they're trying to open up the economy, because at the end of the day, it would affect us. So brilliant one.
Yes.
And number two, I see you also going into asset classes, right? And I just also wanted to quickly chip in before I give you the conversation back. Is that for those who are newbies who are watching this, there are about 4 or 5 asset classes you can invest in. Cash and cash equivalents. You already heard her mention that. Fixed income securities, equity and stocks. She's mentioned those. Real estate, and then maybe alternative investments or what you call commodities and all of that. I like to group every other thing under alternative investments. Okay. So now let me bring you back to what you have said about holding on to cash. You did say that people should invest in cash and near cash, or what I like to call cash equivalent, so that they can, leverage opportunities as they arise. Let's bring the conversation back to Nigeria. Now, cash and cash equivalents. You already mentioned fixed income securities. Somebody may say, so you're saying we should hold on to near cash assets. Can you give us a bit of examples? Whether the rates are low or high is not an issue, right? What we want to do is we want to have a bit of cash. We want to be a bit liquid so that when opportunities come. So, two questions in one. What are some of those near cash instruments we can use? And what are likely to be the opportunities? Can you break down those opportunities, so
Hmm.
that,
Okay. So let me start with the first one, cash and near cash. We all know what cash is in Nigeria, Naira. And the question for many people on many people's lips is, do I need to still continue to hold Naira? And I tell people, yes, but it's qualified. That yes for me is qualified. Hold as much as you know you would need within a 3 to 6 months, what people would typically call their emergency fund. Hold it, and hold it in a mutual funds account. There are several. And you find out that, interestingly, now last year was, if you look through, last year was a year of low yields. So it really, there was nothing anybody could do about it. You just had to take it that last year was the year of low yields, but you still had to keep some cash. Then also near cash. Near cash I look at are those mutual funds, basically, that are not denominated in Naira, and you only have one type, the dollar mutual funds. And the reason why I tell people that is it helps you hedge, because the truth is inflation is on the upward trend. I think 15.4 something last week was what, and that was the highest, that's been the highest in like 37 months or so. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be coming down because food inflation is driving it. So you have to understand that. So hold your cash, not in a position where you can easily lay hold of it. So put it in a mutual funds account. There are a lot. And many banks you find, and even asset management companies, there are a lot. I do not want to endorse one over the other, but I'm just saying, do your own research, you'll find. Then for the dollar mutual funds, those are the ones I would recommend as your near cash. For me today, I would say I would do Naira and I would do dollar investments. And knowing that with the dollar investments, some of them are flexible enough. Once you surpass the holding period, you can withdraw as soon as you see other opportunities. So the other opportunities now, if you ask me, one area that seems to still be growing despite all odds in Nigeria is the small business. So most people that have small businesses, despite the frustrations that they face every day and they would openly tell you, still seem to be thriving. So the question is, what are the opportunities? You find your opportunities in peer-to-peer lending. So those businesses, they need, unfortunately, we haven't really found platforms. You've seen the agri-tech platforms where they pull funds and sponsor farmers. Maybe we would see organized platforms where individuals can sponsor small businesses, but for now we haven't seen that direct. I haven't seen, so I don't know. But you will find opportunities in P2P lending, peer-to-peer lending. So the peer-to-peer lending may come in form of agri-tech, that's a form of it, or may even come through investment clubs like yours. So you find that many people now are looking at the fact that, yes, they say they would give monies to small businesses in banks, or even the Bank of Industry. Some I've seen, and I know people that have actually gotten funding there. But for those starting out, that may not be an option for them. And so you find out that they find their options in peer-to-peer lending. And you see a lot of informal lendings. So it doesn't have to be in an organized sector. You see families, they do their own form of modified ajo, and it pays them. So we have to own the fact that it doesn't have to be a formal structure. The informal structure, when organized well, even in its informal setting, works. So you would see a lot of, and another one you would see, another opportunity, will be that assets, people will be selling assets. So you tend to see a lot on Instagram. One that I tend to see a lot of is for, like, I'll give an example, fashion houses. So you see people relocating, and because they're relocating, they need to sell, and they're selling good assets, and they're selling it at small or this highly discounted amounts. So for those also retail, I know retail investors have their own businesses they're doing at the side. So this may not be the time to necessarily look at spending money to buy those products or those equipment you want. Look around, keep cash, you would find bargains. Some are relocating, some for whatever reason, maybe need to inject cash into their business, are selling. And also the government says they would also have to sell some properties. That may not concern many retail investors because of the amounts that might be involved. But just know that we should not be surprised to hear if a group of wealthy Nigerians or some consortiums start buying government properties. It will be good for us, because you tend to find out that privately owned businesses are more efficient in many cases than government entities. So we may find out that on the long run, it may be better for the country, whichever way it is structured. But I hope I've said you would find, yes, dollar, naira, mutual funds. Hold also, because you would see a lot of distressed sales. It may be of equipment you want for your business. It may be land. It may even be properties. You would find a lot of those distressed sales. And at times like this, holding cash to take care of or to take advantage is the best.
Awesome. I love it. Totally, totally. Um, I think you have touched on really the key things. I'm aware in the US, I've been following some news and, chatting with a couple of friends. I think because of the virus, a couple of homeowners who got mortgages right now are struggling. And you know what happens? You know the implication of that. Where anywhere in the world, maybe except for Nigeria, where tenants that cannot pay rent are like the kings. Like they insist. And in Nigeria, you have tenants who
Yeah.
don't pay rent for 1 year, 2 years. But overseas, if you default on your mortgage, Corona is like, a risk that will fall under the act of God, famine, earthquake, and all of that. But banks do not even give a hoot. So maybe they just give you like a moratorium of like, say, 1 or 2 or 3 months. And even the stimulus checks will not even take you anywhere. So I heard that real estate properties in the US are kind of cheap around now. So those who have cash can leverage that. Right. So I really, really love the analysis, peer-to-peer lending like we do in the investment club. In like 24 months, we have done well over 1.5 billion. Most of it have been peer-to-peer, like agrotech, that's not the name of the company. That's like agro-allied products.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
We have also lended to, small business owners who have received LPOs from reputable companies. So, I mean, you cannot partake of these investments if you do not have cash. And the beauty of investment club is that your own 50K would matter. Your own 100K will matter. Those that have 5 million, those that have 10 million can be a part of it. So I really like the trajectory of this conversation. So what Tony has said in essence is have cash, hold cash in cash or cash equivalents or near cash investments or vehicles, and then be on the lookout for opportunities. What some people do is they have the cash. I still know people who have cash in their savings account as well for months. And we know that savings account do not even pay anything. So it's a dual edge approach. Hold cash, be on the lookout for opportunities. And for people who are thinking, so how can I even increase my cash flow? I think we have done quite a number of videos on what you can do. You have to explore multiple sources of income at this point. I like Robert
Yes.
Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrants, in which he talked about how you can generate cash flow from 4 quadrants. As an employee, where you exchange your time for money,
For
as a
money.
self-employed person, a business owner, and of course, an investor. So I've been telling people, see, even as an employed person, you can use your free hours to do your own thing, to do your own business by the side, monetize your gifts and talent, right? Make the money. Now, it doesn't matter how small it is. When you develop and build the muscles, you can do better, right? So you must know your skills. I've been telling some self employed people, hey, some of you need to pick up part time jobs that will guarantee constant flow of income, right? And of course, business owners and investors will usually have cash here and there. For business owners, business doesn't have to be brick and mortar. When you leverage other people's time, resources, and all of that, you're doing business. So business is owning systems, right? So I think Tony has done a good job talking about cash and opportunity. So don't just hold the cash, be on the lookout for opportunities. And don't just chase opportunities without owning or having or holding an adequate amount of cash. It is important. So, I mean, we have said recovery. Recovery from what has happened in 2020 is a function of what you can make and what you can do with what you make. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I just
Sorry,
go ahead,
I
please.
just remembered something. There was if you look at the sectors that have actually really grown, whether globally or even in Nigeria, one sector has been the how will I call it, the tech sectors. So the telecom companies, the internet service providers have grown, mainly because there's been huge request for data. So people sitting at home, you and I are using data now. And now that it seems as if COVID is still extending, more people are still working from home. So you find out that because of that, the Nigerian grown technology has done much, much better than you would expect. So you have the likes of the pay stack. Everybody knows what happened, the 200 million naira sale acquisition by Stripe. Last week, Flutterwave, which belongs to the YC Combinator. YC Combinator is a venture capitalist in the US that give startups money. So when they were ranking their best investments, Flutterwave came in as the only African the IT startup they had invested that done well. So you would also see, but this is not for the retail you and I, but you would see that there would also be opportunities in such field for people to actually invest. And by this, I'm talking about angel investing. So you've seen a lot of Nigerians start their own venture capitalists and invite people to come. It's not cheap, it's not short term. And like I always tell people, those who go into angel investing are not people that are just building up funds. They're people that have built up their funds to a point. But I just said, let me also put that out, that's another opportunity area of opportunity for those that have the clout and muscle for it. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So angel investing is another opportunity through which you can maximize the use of your cash. Within the investment club, we have an angel investing unit. And in the last quarter of 2020, I think we did over 100,000, right? But A, you need to know your risk temperament, right? All of the asset classes I mentioned, they all have risk profile. Cash and cash
Various
equivalents are
ones.
very low risk. Fixed income, low risk as well. Equities, the risk keeps going higher from there. You go into real estate, you go into alternative investments, commodities. Angel investing, sometimes you may lose all your money. And when you win big. Now, those who invested in Paystack back then, imagine what they would have gotten when Stripe, acquired Paystack. So I believe angel investing is not for the soft-hearted,
No.
low-risk looking or searching investor, because you must be ready to just say bye to all your money. All right, thank you.
Sorry,
Okay.
there's this Yoruba saying, "Elemi lo ma last." I think that describes
I
that
know,
describes
right?
angel investing. It's
I
not for
know,
the
right?
faint-hearted.
I know. And you know what? Something that a lot of people do not understand about investing. Everybody is looking for opportunities that, will give them
Quick money.
absolutely no risk.
Mm.
Now, inherent in investments are risks. And even for low risk investments like loan notes, treasury bills, all of that the government issues, nobody will tell you it is a no risk investment. Rather, they would say it is low risk. So there's no
Yeah.
investment such as no risk. Now, would you say government funds or government borrowings, why would you say they are low risk? They are no risk because the government may decide that even if there's no money, they'll print out new money. But
To
even
pay.
then, you cannot say it is no because there are risks. I like to give the example of Venezuela. Look at where the country is today. If you had invested millions and millions and billions FDIs into Venezuela, with some of the things that have been happening, the inflation and all of that. Now, there's no government that is above mistakes. There's no government that is above economic crisis. And even COVID has showed us that, right? So it is low risk. So for those who are always saying, I don't want to lose my money, please do your risk profiling, understand, and invest. I know nobody wants to lose their money, but always have it at the back of your mind that investment could go anyway, right? Awesome. So let's go to the final part of this conversation.
Okay.
In some of the newsletters that you shared with us last year, you made mention learning points from certain investors across the world. I know there was a newsletter on Dangote, there was a newsletter on Elon Musk, if I'm right. Who is now, by the way, the richest man in the world. There was a newsletter on Warren Buffett and a couple of other people, some other people who have invested who started small. Now, if you want to sum up some of these things and your general finding, findings, what are some of the key things that these wealthy people, these wealthy investments, what do you think are common factors that cut across that we as upcoming billionaires, retail investors, we need to factor in, we need to bear in mind as we seek to invest on a larger scale basis and, build true wealth.
Okay, one is, and I learned that from Kanye West. I looked at his story, is to own your own story, to have that belief in yourself, or in that you have a journey for yourself. Stick to the journey. There may be different routes to it, but just stick to it. Have your game plan. Know this is what you want to do. There would be setbacks, but have your game plan. Know what you want to do part time and do everything you can do to actually keep to that game plan. And you see that happen also with Elon Musk. When he started out, what most people don't know was he wasn't the one that founded Tesla, but was the one actually that took the company to the height it is now, and is well paid for that. So sometimes there's method to the madness of all these people. They're mavericks in their own rights. They don't think the way an average person would think. Because like I tell people, the average person has this aversion to failures. And the story I did about Jeff Bezos, Amazon, they've had many failures. Even last week, one company that he set up with Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, a health venture, they are unwinding it at a loss, but you won't see them crying. They're taking a walk away from it. The rich people know when to take a walk from a loss-making position. They are not sentimental. They don't hold on, okay, yes, I've made this loss. So the first one I'd said is own your own story. Write your plan, have your game plan, articulate it, follow it. There will be twists and turns, but still keep at it. Don't be moved. Look at the long term, not the short term. The second one is, yes, there will be failures. You would make investing mistakes. I normally give the example of SoftBank. This is a Japanese company. They lost money with WeWork, lost major money. But when Airbnb, the IPO of Airbnb, with at the prices it went for, SoftBank made everything you believe they've lost. They made it in one IPO. So, but tomorrow it doesn't stop them from also looking at other things to invest in. So know how to take losses. Losses will come. Don't take it personal. Know how to walk away from it. You will hear some people that will swear never to go back to the stock market because they lost money. But you find out, look at most of these billionaires. One day they can lose 10 billion. You don't see them hanging themselves because they know that tomorrow will be better. So just learn to walk away from it. Then the third one is consistency. Most of them were at it, they kept at it. They did not, it was not fly by night success. They kept at it, they were consistent with what they were doing. Then the fourth one is be opportunistic. I said that at the start. Warren Buffett says it that, see, be greedy when everybody is running away, and be very, very afraid when everybody is running to it. So you would see there's a reason why you haven't heard some conventional billionaires talk about cryptocurrency, for example. They stick to their own lane. So you see them, yes, they are wealthy, but they're not everywhere. They play in niche areas. So they look for their areas of strength and they master that area of strength. And I'll give example with like our grandparents' generation. Many of them were not wealthy in the sense of wealthy, relatively didn't have cash. But what most of them did was what they believed in. So many of them left real estate for their descendants because they saw that as one safe place to build wealth. And many grandchildren will still thank their parents for what they had done. So look for the area where you're comfortable with and play in it. I've mentioned real estate, but one thing you should notice when we're talking about real estate, we're not talking about your residential house. We're talking about real estate for commercial purposes because that's where the real wealth is. So those areas I've mentioned, be confident, be consistent, know how to walk away from losses, and also play in a niche area. Look for your niche, look for what you know. And another thing I've seen, even while writing, and is that wealthy people seek knowledge. They don't look for people to tell them about things. They would first of all do their own investigations, then now start asking questions. So they're not just armchair, they also seek to know. So they're not waiting because nobody would teach you the way you would want to teach yourself. So know and add to the knowledge of what you know. Then also relationships, connections, many of them leverage on it. They leverage on it big time. Like the story of Kanye West, he leveraged on his relationship with Adidas to actually do the Yeezys. He leveraged on it. And I saw it. It wasn't that I was even told. The first one in 2015. I said that day we looked at it, my sister and I, it looked very nice, light. And we asked for the price. They said $500. And we said, did people buy it? And the guy said, you know what? That day, that there was a queue outside when they opened the store, that there was a queue of people waiting to buy that particular one. We saw the gray Yeezys, the first one. He said, no, the white sold out because that was what he wore. He wore it on a Sunday night. And people actually saw it and came queued. So they leverage on connections. They are opportunistic in nature. I can go on, but I think
I
I've said
love it.
enough.
I love it. I think I've written about it. Own your own story. Don't be failure averse. Confident,
Yeah,
consistency, be opportunistic,
tunistic.
play in a niche area, right? Seek knowledge, have connections. I like the niche. I like all of them. Playing in a niche area is something that we all need to work on. We all have various tastes. We all have various aversions, like you said. We all have various um likings, fondness, things we gravitate towards. I have a mentor who, for years, has always been into real estate and is making so much money from it. So he does real estate and a bit of cash and cash equivalents, right? He will tell you anything stocks, anything. I really do not understand. And I mean, recently I was sharing with him how mutual funds, stocks overseas have done. I mean, some particular mutual funds have done about 90% year to date in 2020. And I kept showing him that graph when it was 15%, when it was 30, when it was 6, and when it was 9, and he was like, oh, wow, I should have done this. But I bet you if he was real estate, he would have embraced it from day one. So he knows his niche area and that works for him. But some of us, we want to be everywhere. I guess age is a factor. When you're younger, you have the energy and all of that to play around. But as time goes on, zero in. Warren Buffett, for one, is somebody that
Stocks.
he wants to
Still stock.
stay with stocks. I mean, his business is the Berkshire, whatever, but I'm not sure they
Berkshire Insurance.
but they do not actively trade products like a Bill Gates would do with Microsoft, Jeff Bezos, and all of that. And look at him. I think he clocked 90 already last year.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
so.
he clocked 90 August 31st, I think. I mean, I may
Okay,
be
I
wrong.
remember Bill Gates made a cake for him. I
Yes,
watched that
yes.
video.
So I
Yes.
think he clocked 30, and look at him. He's been investing since when he was, I think he bought
11.
11.
His first
He,
share, Coca-Cola,
at
if I
11,
remember clearly.
he bought a 40,000 acre land at 14. He started doing business at 9. See, this guy, knows what he
Has
wants.
been consistent, yeah, and has
Yeah.
been consistent at it.
So we all need to know. I mean, you could check out, I mean, for those watching this, check out those figures and those facts. 90, yes, I think I'm sure about that. And some of these other things. We all need to know. I must be able to say, Shola, this is an investment I love to do. Now, it doesn't mean I shouldn't open myself to other opportunities, but you must know what works for you and stick to it and be ready to play it the long haul, right? This has been very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you for the newsletters. Keep them coming. And
Thank you.
I hope to do this another time soon with you. Have a
No
great
problem.
day and
You
God
too.
bless you.
Thank you very much. God bless you
Thank you.
too. Bye.